Test, test, test. Okay. Caption is on. Okay. So it does show. Because the caption do show now. I think it would be Andy, but we could wait. The sound is not too bad. It's the, it's just the beat. Because like if it doesn't work for you, because I think I tried it last time too. But this is not required. This is beep is just like try and get them to stop. But they also could see on the screen. Yeah, they can also see the screen.
Welcome to the July 21st, 2026 Millbrae City Council closed session meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Roll call, please, City Clerk.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Riley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fung.
Here.
Mayor Rinaldi.
Present.
All members of City Council are present.
All right, thanks. And since this is our only meeting today, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, everyone, thank you for that. This is going to bring us to our public comment. So persons wishing to address the City Council on subjects on the closed session agenda or provide public comments may do so at this time before the City Council goes into closed session. So it looks like I have a couple speaker slips here in hand. We'll go with the first person for agenda item number 1.
Yes, Mayor, and this item is actually on existing litigation. So I just want to notate the government code. It is 54956.9D1 for Ann Center versus City of Millbrae and the city clerk, elections official of the City of Millbrae, Supreme Court of California, County San Mateo, case number 26-CIV-05490.
Thank you for stating that for the record, City Clerk, and we'll go ahead and proceed to public comments on this agenda item. First speaker up is Ken Smith. Mr. Smith.
Good evening on this very special meeting. I appreciate it. Good evening to the mayor, to council members, and to staff. Today, the voters made it clear that eligibility has been 2 years for a break between service. This is the action of the voters. Our recent example of this was Reuben Holliver, who had a 2-year break, and then we voted him into council. The question is, why do we think 2 years is not acceptable, since we have 4 examples of recent history of council members who only took a 2-year break? Voters know there's not a lot of candidates that are willing to step up to be a council member. So this is one of the reasons why I believe a 2-year break in service is important, because we have incumbents that have knowledge of the city and understand how things work. So to make someone sit out for 4 years, if there's a special occasion where someone like Reuben or a recall or whatever the case may be, these people can step in and then without missing a beat, be able to pick up on city business. The other thing I think is kind of disturbing to me is that we're wasting our taxpayers' monies on this situation when it really shouldn't. This shouldn't be at all. This situation shouldn't be here at all. And this services that the money we're spending on this we could be using city services other places. So again, I encourage you to drop it and let's move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your public comment, Mr. Smith. Next speaker on this item is Ms. Jean Wong. Ms. Jean Wong.
Good evening, Mayor Rinaldi, council member. My name is Jean Wong. I'm a 28-year resident of Millbrae. I recently sent you an email regarding council's actions respect to Measure FF term limit interpretation. As you know, that measure was approved by the voters. And your actions with respect to this measure from the July 7th meeting was totally wrong. You took advantage of a loophole in the existing bylaws and rushed to make an administrative change that should not have been made by a group of 3 council members, but by voters. I cannot believe that it was not intentional that you called a special meeting with only 24 hours notice, public notice. I think most disturbingly to me is that the deciding vote for this measure, interpretation of this measure, was made by a group of 3 council members, 2 of which were appointed, not elected. I find it was a profound overreach for unelected officials to strip away our voting rights. Voters have a right to determine how Measure F should be interpreted, changed, or any revisions made to it. So out of respect for democracy, I think the two appointed council members should have abstained from voting. So in order to restore voters' confidence that this council can truly govern fairly and with transparency, council must do two things: rescind the vote on Measure FF interpretation that was made on July the 7th, and secondly, place a clear initiative on a future ballot so voters like myself and those in the room will have an opportunity to decide for themselves how they want to choose and elect their council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment, Ms. Wong. Next public speaker is Ms. Grace Zurab.
I felt that this was an important enough issue to make a special appearance in person for once instead of online. And also because I'm a Burlingame resident, people might not think that I have a vested interest in this, but I have a financial interest in the city, and anybody that's elected to any city council sits on regional boards potentially that have an impact on me, just like the air quality board just did away with gas appliances. I listened to the July 6th council meeting where the city attorney explained his interpretation of Millbrae term limits and the break in service requirement. While I respect his legal analysis, I believe that his firm was retained after Measure FF was put on the ballot and understandably may not know the history behind the ordinance, which I think is very important to understand. Just like courts look at the legislative intent when interpreting law, the history matters here. To understand this issue, you have to understand that history. Millbrae once had the shortest term limits in the county, just 2 terms or 8 years, while cities such as Burlingame had no term limits at all. That put Millbrae at a disadvantage when trying to retain leadership positions on important regional boards. The purpose of extending the limit to 3 terms was to allow council members to continue serving in those leadership regional roles. It was not presented as creating a new 4-year waiting period before somebody could run again, nor was it presented as a way to give new people the opportunity to run for elections. It was solely for the regional aspect and retaining knowledge. Then there's district elections. When the city only adopted it under threat of litigation, that changed the election cycle to allow continuous staggering of terms, but it did not change the historic understanding of terms. So we did not have 5 people running for a term all at once. We staggered the terms for every 2 years, so on a 4-year cycle. In fact, under the former citywide election system, former council members who reached the 2-year term limit often returned after that 2-year break, not 4. Ruben was cited earlier, Gina Pappen, and also Ann Schneider returned after sitting out for 2 years. If the ordinance was always required to mandate a 4-year break, that simply would not have happened. They would not have been allowed to return after 2 years. That is why I'm concerned with the city's current interpretation. It appears inconsistent with how the applicable ordinances, including the terminology, having historically been understood and applied. If the city believes the interpretation is correct today, then it should also explain why it was not applied that way in the past. And also, I just want to say finally that I find the tone of the last meeting to be
Thanks for your public
uncalled for.
comment.
Thank you.
If there's any more additional, you can send it to us via email to the full council. Thank you. Next up is Speaker Mr. Dan Stegnick.
Thank you, council members. Only one of you was here at the time when this happened. You couldn't have known. The good Mayor Funk couldn't have known. Good council member Pappen couldn't have known. good ex-mayor Schneider couldn't have known what was going to go down. Article Election 7, Section 5 of the state constitution leaves term limits solely to state legislation and local voters. Article 7, Section 8 of the California Constitution provides that laws shall exclude persons from office that have been convicted of bribery, perjury, and forgery. California Government Code 1021 implements this constitutional concept, providing that a person is disqualified from holding any office upon conviction of designated crimes as specified in the Constitution and laws of the state. U.S. Code 18-1546A expressly encompasses forging documents. No one's here could have known. The good Mayor Funk couldn't have known. You guys couldn't have known. 2 weeks after the Twin Towers fell, Sissy Riley was charged with 25 felonies
Mr. Stagnick, this needs to be.
as Sissy Yan He and
Mr.
elocuted
Stagnick, it
to
needs
one
be
felony.
In relation to the actual agenda item, we're going to have to.
I believe it's relevant. Thank you.
Thanks for your public comment. Next public speaker is Ms. Carol Krasilnikoff. Carol?
Hi, Carol Krasilnikoff, 651 Santa Barbara Avenue. I just want to say that I think this whole matter should be put to the voters and not have the council decide for us what we want, and especially to council members that were appointed and not even elected. That's pretty much it.
Thank you for public comment, Ms. Krasilnikoff. And our last in-house speaker, former Mayor Ann Schneider.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Ann Schneider, Palm Avenue. Tonight, you are meeting in closed session regarding Schneider versus City of Millbrae. Let the record show that at 5:48 this evening, your staff table, your city clerk was served with my ex parte application for a temporary restraining order for the actions you took on July 7th. While the court hearing is set for Thursday at 1:30 or approximate, the real opportunity for leadership is right here in this room tonight. Recall on the 7th that the acting attorney said many people called about District 3, but none of those people came to a council member. None of a meeting. None of them came and talked about it on Nextdoor. None of them were here last week. The process that was used left out the majority of the people of Millbrae, the 23,000 majority of Millbrae. Tonight, again, you have a closed session where difficult legal naughty problems are solved. And last week, we heard about all the problems of creating a term limit out of the blue. While those initial conversations happened in private, most of the 23,000 people are still unaware that you have changed their ballot and their choices. True civic leadership means having the courage to pause, to evaluate, reevaluate, and change direction when a decision misses the mark. Admitting that the July 7th resolution was a hasty step is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength and respect for the democratic process. You have the clear legal authority tonight to correct Millbrae's course. By instructing staff to issue the standard nomination papers, you choose transparency over litigation. You choose to trust Millbrae's voters to decide who represents them on the ballot in November. The nomination window closes August 7th. I ask you to take the courageous step tonight to protect voter choice and keep the process in the hands of the community, in the hands of the voters. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment, former Mayor Ann Schneider. And that leads us to our one online speaker.
Yes, we do have one online speaker, and it is the phone number ending with 023. Please accept the mute and also state your name for the record.
This is Louise Velasquez, resident of Millbrae. and I'm calling in this evening to register my disappointment in the actions of the City Council on July 7th and the fact that that was done with very short notice and little transparency, and a decision was made that should have been made by the voters of Millbrae. I believe the speakers prior to me have explained some of the background, but it really should be our choice how and what the term limits are for the city of Millbrae, rather than a very hasty last-minute meeting with very little public notice, making a major decision that affects all of us. And I would request that you rescind the decision that you made and also express my disappointment in those council members that chose to vote for that. And I hope that you do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment, Ms. Velasquez. That ends our public comment for this agenda item. Did we have any other items for public comment that are not on the agenda tonight? Any speakers online? None? Okay, so that concludes the portion of comment for the agenda item, and now we will adjourn to our closed session.